Hello, welcome back, or welcome to my podcast, Life Goes On, where life eventually goes on. Before we begin, I have my little notes, and they are telling me that I should plug myself. That sounded so wrong, but anyways, follow me on Instagram, Life Goes On the podcast, and Spotify and SoundCloud. So, whether you like to listen to your podcast on Spotify or you really enjoy the free platform that is SoundCloud, listen to me on there if you would like, because sometimes we don't have the time for a video, and I understand. So, go ahead, take a walk and talk with me, or listen to me speak, I should say. Today is all about comforting friends. But before I get into that, I'm going to talk about a movie and some other stuff. A week recap, if you will. So I watched the new Netflix movie Where the Crawdads Sing. I read the book beforehand because I didn't know there was going to be a movie, but I found the book and I was like, I've heard about this book and I wanted to know whether it was good. At the end of the day, I did really enjoy the book. And I enjoyed the movie. I feel like it was pretty similar to the book. I felt the same vibes, which is very important to me. Obviously, there were some differences, but overall, not the worst adaptation. I've seen so much worse. You best believe, I have seen bad adaptations. So I was not mad at this. But I don't think that book is that difficult to fuck up, if you know what I'm saying. I think I'm allowed to say the F word. I don't know. At this point I don't care. You can't silence me. You cannot silence me. Are you silent or are you silenced? That's what I'm saying. I joined a film club. Speaking of movies, wow. Thank you, Yana. I joined a film club, which I am over the moon about. I'm an avid movie watcher. I think I've watched close to 400 movies in my lifetime. Do I know how I did that? No, I don't. I don't know how I did that. I have an IMDb list of all the movies I've watched because at one point I was so obsessed with movies that I was like, I should probably write this down. And there might be some movies missing, but I think those are just like Disney movies, which I anyways rewatch. I want to rewatch Ratatouille. I should do that later on. That's just a joke. I have to do coursework. We're not going to talk about that. But yes, I love movies is what I'm trying to say. And I'm so excited. And every month there's a new theme. And then they give you a list of movies and you pick one movie that matches this theme and you talk about it at the meetings on a monthly basis, and it's gorgeous. And they even said that we would do a movie watching meeting, like where you watch movies with the people in the group. Adorable, amazing. Are you joking? I am so excited. Even though I have probably no time for all these things, I'm in a writer's club, I'm in a film club. I just love clubs. I love talking about things that I like with other people and then not seeing them again until the next month. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. Absolutely no commitment needed. I mean, there's a level of commitment, but like it's not enough for me to be like, oh no, I have no time. Because it's like, okay, once a month, 2-hour meetings. I think I can do that most of the time. So we shall see. We shall see. And this is a really big movie theme. What is going on? I have been busy lately with my school, but I am holding on for dear life. I mean, not really, like it's not really that bad. Look, I was in the IB. If you know anybody that has done the IB, or if you are an IB student, you know we love to complain. We love to complain and we love to make our problems seem worse than everybody else's because, like, I'm not gonna lie to you, it was horrible. It was a horrible time. I never want to go back. But I am very happy because now things seem so much easier. I'm like, wow, life can be not busy 24/7. I have a social life. I have hobbies. That's insane. To me, that is insane. But I am so excited about it. But it has been getting busier, and that has been striking a stress chord within me. But we live and we learn and we deal. And another thing that will take up my time is, guys, I auditioned for this student TV show. and it was really fun and really interesting. And I got the main part. And I'm not gonna push my ego has been pushed enough. It has been inflated enough by those people. But I'm really excited. It's like a full ass set, costumes, filming, stuff like that, and we're going to film the first 2 episodes, and if it gets picked up, I will be telling you to watch it. You have to watch it. There's just nothing else you can do. And I'm super excited. I love acting. I've always been acting. I'm a little bit of an like hello, I like to see myself on screen. Like, what are we doing here? What do you think we're doing here? I'm a little bit of a narcissist, and that is okay because I use that narcissism for the greater good. I don't know if this is a greater good, but some people listen to it, okay? If there are 2 listeners, then there's enough listeners. That is enough for me. But yeah, I'm excited for it. I don't really know what to expect. I've never been on a TV set, but the cast and the producers and the directors seem super fun, super cool, and it's just like a cute little thing. So we're gonna film in April and everything, and I love it. But let's get into this. Friends going through a crisis, comforting friends. It's all about this today. I feel like different people comfort others in different ways, and I love that because when you know what you need, you know who to go to, because different people do different things. And if you're like, hey, I don't really want to talk about this, I just want to have fun, you have a friend for that. Or, hey, I actually do want to talk about this and not only distract myself, you have a friend for that. And then there's a nice little balance. And today we're going to talk about that balance. It definitely helps to be close to them. And if not, like, always ask, what do you need? What do you want me to do? Do you want me to listen? Do you want me to give advice? Do you want me to distract you, comfort you, hug you, kiss you, make you dinner? Like, tell me what you need. And also, different people have different needs. That's for sure. So it's definitely important not to kind of immediately place what you might need to somebody else, because that can go very wrong. Like, if you're somebody like me and my father that makes jokes, like, a lot, and you don't enjoy that, that's going to be a little bit of a problem. Because if somebody's like, Yana, I'm so depressed, and I'm like, same. No, that does not work a lot for obvious reasons, because it, like, people who say same when you're going through a crisis is like, come on, give me some hope. Don't give me only LOL relatable. I'm not trying to be relatable. I'm trying to vent and to be comforted. So definitely understand what works and what doesn't. However, I'm going to give you some of the things I do, and I'm going to reflect on some of the things I do and maybe give you ideas, because I know that comforting people when you haven't had that much practice with it, or if you're just generally somebody who gets a little bit uncomfortable with emotions, it's difficult to, well, you love people and you want to be able to be there for them and help them, but you don't know how. And that's a very frustrating thing to deal with. So hopefully with this podcast, you might be able to better navigate that sort of situation. I first ask what they need. Okay. I also try to make them get out of the house, either go for coffee, or go grocery shopping with them, just like do their errands with them. Just generally get them maybe not out of the house, but out of their room. A lot of the time, when my roommate was going through something, I asked her to come to my room a couple times just so that she didn't have to be alone in her room or in that same environment, because you tend to get depressed if you are going through something and you're staying in one place. It's like the depression is hotboxing in your room, and hotboxing is usually fun, but not with depression. Or I go to their room if they don't feel like getting out, and it still changes the vibe, because then it's like you're not alone, you have somebody there, and their energy kind of changes the environment, which I really enjoy. I also make sure to let them know that they can always text me, talk to me, be incredibly open. I'm super open. I tell them, you're not a burden. Make sure to validate them and kind of give them affirmations like they're not a burden. They can always come to talk to you. You're always there for them. And if you're really busy, you can still say like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm really busy. I will be talking to you when I come back, or I will be texting you when I have the time. But just let them know that you're there. I also I'm a person that likes to give advice. Hello, the whole fucking podcast is about this. But I'm a person that tends to give advice, and I love giving advice, and I love like making sure that people know that their issues are solvable. Not all the time, because sometimes issues aren't solvable, but when they are, I like to just give that thing. But some people really don't enjoy that. Some people don't need advice. So I always say listen first, and if they ask for advice, if they ask for your opinion, you can give it. Or if you're super comfortable with them, that they know that you like to give advice, maybe that's fine to give advice unsolicited. But I usually steer away from that because I like to have people make their own decisions and learn from their own decisions instead of always trying to control them. And as a control freak with control freak tendencies, it's really difficult not to give advice, not to try to control somebody and fix them immediately. But it is just natural for things to take time. People grow slowly, and it's really difficult to understand that. But always listen. Make sure to say, yes, I hear you. You're right. Well, unless they're wrong, but just generally just be there for them to vent. And I feel like when somebody's ranting about someone else, I don't think you should go immediately into the advice slash hating on that person route. I know it's easy when somebody has wronged your friend for you to be like, yeah, fuck that person. But it's like, okay, I understand that, but is that really helpful? Because what if in a week they're like, I like them, and you're like, oh, that's also true. They're such good people. Like, don't be contradicting. Try not to talk about people you don't know, especially like if they're ranting about their boyfriend that you've never met. I know it's really like, it feels good to be like, yeah, he's an asshole, break up with him. But at the same time, it's like, well, they're with them still. So there must be something that they like about them or a reason that they're staying. And if there's no reason, it's still not your business. So I don't think we should immediately go into telling them to break up with somebody or telling them to not be friends with somebody because you don't know the full situation. Sometimes people just want to rant. Sometimes people just want to be listened to. And I don't think it's always right to immediately hate on that person or bash that person, because you're also creating an environment where it's very aggressive and you want your friend to be in peace. And I think having a more rational response would be better for their emotional health. So maybe that's a little bit of a controversial opinion or like an unpopular opinion, because I know how fun it is to bash somebody that your friend doesn't like or that your friend is ranting about, but I don't know if that's necessarily always the right path that you can take with somebody, because people aren't only bad or only good. People have bad and good tendency, I think. So it's easy for somebody to fuck up, and we all fuck up. And as long as they take accountability, I think that we should just, if a friend is ranting about someone, I think that we should hopefully give them advice on talking to that person, trying to figure it out. And if then it doesn't work, then maybe be like, hey, are you sure you still want to talk to this person? Are you sure you still want to be with this person? That's when you should do it. But if this just happened and they're ranting, you haven't given them enough time to try to think rationally, talk to that person, make sure things are okay, fixing their relationship type of thing. So I don't think that whole aggressive, irrational response, emotional response is really the right route to take. I think I love buying gifts. It's one of my favorite love languages is buying things for people, giving gifts. I like receiving gifts, that's for sure. I mean, a lot of people do. But giving gifts to somebody feels really rewarding, and I love making somebody feel special and thought about. So I usually say, like, I remember when somebody was going through something, I bought them tea because they love tea, and I bought them some chocolates to, like, comfort them. And I just generally like to it doesn't even have to be big. It doesn't have to be the most expensive chocolate or the best type of tea. It's just something that's like, hey, I know you like this and I know that this makes you feel good, so I got you something small. It's just like a sign that they are thought about and that they're not alone and that there's something to comfort them, something to think about outside of their situation. And I also love physical touch. I know a lot of people have difficulty reacting to either crying or being upset. And I know a lot of people don't like physical touch. So if you're not that person, that's okay. But I usually say that, like, giving hugs, stroking their hair, just being generally, like, holding their hand, being generally close to them is comforting to me, and I know it's comforting for most of my friends. So definitely, if you would like to do that, if you're comfortable with that, I definitely recommend. Sometimes a big hug genuinely makes everything okay for the moment, and it definitely comforts. I love watching movies, as I said before, so maybe watching a movie. I think that's a good distraction if they want a distraction, is watching either a comfort show like Friends, Modern Family, delicious, Gilmore Girls, The Office. If I'm having a bad day and you happen to be with me in the same room during this bad day, put on The Office and watch me flourish. Watch me recite. Watch me act. Watch me put on a show. I love The Office. I've watched The Office a little bit too much. We're not going to talk about it, but that's what I'm saying. Like, when you need a distraction and something comforts you and you know something, because I think a lot of people tend to get really anxious during difficult times. And so comfort shows and shows that you've watched a bunch of times are predictable. You don't have to think about them. They're kind of on in the background, and you can focus on something like that that doesn't make you anxious. So I think that's a really good idea. I think when they are talking to you, don't just take it, or like if they start talking bad about themselves, start self-deprecating, making everything seem impossible, I think it's important to restructure their thinking, and to make sure that they're on the kind of the right side of the conversation, or at least make them start thinking more hopefully. I know that a lot of people hate cliches. I suffer with cliche syndrome. I am a cliche gal. I say a lot of cliche things because most of the time they come from somewhere. They come from some type of wisdom, even if they're overused. Like, everything's gonna be okay. You're safe. Those affirmation things. And like, on one hand, I find them super cliche and annoying sometimes, but on the other, like, things change. Nature has balance. And when there's ups, there's downs and stuff like that. And I know it seems stupid in the moment when you're going through something horrible and you're like, shut up. Like, what if it isn't okay? But I think I just still drill it into people because I have a sort of experience. I mean, obviously, I'm still very privileged and like things are okay for me. I am safe. I have the wealth to have a home and to have clothes on the racks, and maybe I go through a breakup, but I'm not starving and dying. So obviously not in all situations. You can't say it's gonna be okay, babe. Like, if somebody's relative died, I would not say everything's gonna be okay, because it's like, well, grief is something that you live with your whole life. So I think it depends on the basis of the situation. But most of the time, when I feel like it's respectable to say those things, I do like to say them, because a lot of people, I feel like I also lose sight of it when I'm going through a problem. I'm like, the world is coming down, the ceilings are falling apart, I'm gonna die. So it's nice to hear that sometimes, that somebody is like, it is gonna be okay, you are gonna be okay, things are gonna change, and that's really nice. I also think pity or victimization is unhelpful. I know in the moment when you hear somebody have bad news, you're like, oh, I'm so sorry, poor you. And maybe that feels good to some people, but I don't think it's helpful in the end. I don't think it does anything. I think it brings them down even more, as if they're this victim, as if everything's horrible, as if there's no coming back from this. They have been wronged. The world is bad. The world hates them. Like, I feel like that's what the type of things that get brought up when somebody's like, oh, I'm so sorry, or like pitying, and it makes you feel small. It doesn't make you feel strong. So I don't like to pity people. I just say, of course you say, I'm sorry that happened to you, but don't keep going with that same narrative of victimization. They could be the victim in the situation. That is very possible, of course, but I don't think that you should play on that too much. I think you should play on, hey, you're brave, you're strong, you can get through this, you can build yourself back up again, that type of thing. Like, don't minimize them, don't make them feel small. And it's difficult because we we empathize with these people, we sympathize, but there is a limit, in my opinion. Also, as much as I preach listening, I think there is limit to that too, because if somebody is an overthinker, I know a lot of my friends are overthinkers, I'm an overthinker, they tend to ramble on about the same thing. It's very obsessive. I have that as well a lot of the times, and it's important to know when to stop them, when to put them in perspective, be like, hey, you've been talking about this for 2 hours. We should stop. We should start distracting. We should start thinking about something else. We should start restructuring. There is a limit to ranting, because at one point it just gets bad for the person. It's hurtful to the person talking. And I think that we should know when to stop them and be like, okay, we've gone over this issue multiple times from multiple different perspectives. I think we've reached our limit. Now it's harmful. Let's do something else. Let's think about something else. Let's think about what we can do to fix this, or what we can do to grow as people, how to move on, how to move forward. Because if we're constantly stuck in this mindset and in this situation, how will we ever be okay? So I think definitely make sure to distract them when needed. Go to the gym with them, do small favors for them, help them cook, help them clean. I know a lot of people go into a depression and they can't clean their room, or they can't get up and take a shower, but I think we as friends can help them in a lot of ways, like making meals for them, making sure they eat, making sure they're drinking water, making sure, like, you can go to their room and help them clean up completely free of judgment. Just make them tea, make them coffee, help them with assignments, work together on assignments. I think that really helps, and it makes them feel supported, and it makes them feel like they have the help that they need. Reminding them that it's okay to cry. And I think that I remind them of the difference between what they need and what other people need from them. A lot of the times when they ask for advice, they want to people please and they want to take everybody's advice, but that's not really helpful. So I think we should keep reminding them of, hey, maybe I think this, maybe this is my perspective, but what do you need? Like, if somebody's like, I think you should do this, or I think you shouldn't do this because it could hurt somebody, it's like, okay, that's a very valid response, but let's think about what you need. Because a lot of people, especially after a breakup, they don't think about themselves because they haven't been thinking about themselves. But I think putting perspective on, like, hey, you got to think about yourself sometimes. Otherwise, you're going to keep getting in the situation. You have to think about what you need. What do you need right now? I know you want to do this because it might make you feel good to please some people. But, like, you don't have to take everybody's advice. You don't need to take everyone's advice just to, like, not hurt them. Because sometimes somebody's advice just doesn't apply to you, and that's okay. Advice is there to be an option, not like a guarantee. I also really like to ask questions. For example, if, I don't know, not like therapist questions, like, how did that make you feel? More like, what do you think about this situation? How did this affect you? Type of stuff where maybe help them get more information about what they really feel, because a lot of the times we're kind of confused about situations and we're kind of confused about what's going on, and having somebody to like ask us like, you know, how how is this affecting you? Like, what is the situation doing? Why do you feel like this? Is really valid. And as much as I think that it's important to comfort your friends, I also think that you need to also think about yourself. I don't think you are not their therapist. It is not your responsibility to fix them, whatever that means. You are not there to fix them. You're not there to fix their problems. You're there to comfort. You're there to be their support. You're there to help them when they need it, but you can't fix their problems and you can't fix their mental health as a result of their problems. I always preach therapy whenever somebody's going through a really rough time, because at the end of the day, as much as I want to help you, as much as I might be able to help you, it's not my job. I'm not a professional, and I have my own life. And sometimes it, like from my perspective, it feels really selfish for me to say, or I don't say it like that, obviously. I have a life, leave me alone. No. But it is important to set those boundaries of like, look, I love helping you and I want to help you, but I also have my limits, and I don't want to give you either the wrong advice, approach this in the wrong way, or not have enough time for you. So I always preach therapy to my friends because I can't be their therapist, and I think it's very important to talk to professionals because they know how to, approach this thing and talk about it with you, because at the end of the day, I do have my biases. So if somebody tells me a problem, I care about this person and I don't see all the flaws within their thinking all the time. And I can't hold them accountable as much as somebody outside of the situation can. And I think it's important to give yourself a break. Like if you're starting to internalize these issues, if it's starting to be too much, it's completely okay to take a step back and be like, hey, I'm really sorry. This is all a lot for me. I want to help you, but I just need a little bit of a break. Maybe we can talk about this tomorrow. Or just saying like, I just need some time for myself. I think that's completely valid. We can't always be there for people. We also need our alone time. And it's really easy to be affected by, especially if you have gone through the same thing, you might get like triggered, or memories might resurface that you don't want to resurface or revisit. So it's important to also take care of your emotions throughout, because then when you're taken care of, you can take care of people as much as you can. And this is like, also, look, this is really annoying to realize because it took me a while to realize it and I did not like realizing it. If somebody doesn't want to get better, if somebody doesn't want to change their problem, if somebody doesn't want to improve themselves or take your advice, there is so much you can do. You know what I'm saying? Like, there is a limit to your ability to help them. If they don't want to help themselves, nobody can help them. And it's a really harsh reality to come to terms with, because we want them to get better. Like, we're like, come on, like, take this seriously because you're a loved person and I love you and I want you to get better. But sometimes you can't force anybody to do that. And I think we should all accept that fact, try our best to continue to spur them into getting better and to develop. But at the end of the day, it's not always possible. But it is always possible to do your best. So I think that there's a lot of hope with comforting friends. And I don't think you can't be perfect ever. So I don't think it's that big of a deal if you make a little mistake, because then you learn from your mistake and you're like, I'm sorry that didn't help you. I'll try something else. Don't be too hard on yourself. So yeah, that was comforting friends. I love comforting my friends, but sometimes I do see that I internalize it a lot and I still have a lot to work on with that. But that's why I love having friends, is because it's a two-way street. I know that if I'm there for them, they're there for me. And that's what friendship's all about. Just having people that you can trust, that you can count on whenever you need them. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if you've ever if you have some tips and tricks on comforting friends, I would love to hear them. I would love to put them in my brain. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you learned something. I hope I helped you in some way. And I hope that everything's good with you. I hope you're having a wonderful day, morning, evening, afternoon, whenever you're listening to this podcast. Yeah, go to the social medias that I mentioned. Life Goes On the podcast on Instagram, Spotify, SoundCloud, Life Goes On. You know the drill. I'll leave the links in the description below. And I hope you enjoyed. And I hope to see you next week. All right, guys. I am tired and I have work to do. So, lovely times ahead of me and you. Farewell.